Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to The Discriminating Gamer, the board game review show that knows that Frodo had a blade named Sting, and that Fade Rathau had a blade and was played by Sting. Ladies and gentlemen, that and more goodies in our review of Dune Imperium from Direwolf. In Dune Imperium from Direwolf, 1 to 4 players take on the roles of the various houses in the Dune universe as they compete for resources and to become the masters of the planet Arrakis. Now, the game board represents the planet Arrakis and the space above it, and the various people and factions that have an interest in it that you will be attempting to influence and manipulate throughout the game. Now, you each have kind of a starting player card that will give you certain setup instructions, certain things you get, and certain advantages that you have in the game. Now, at the beginning of the game, you're going to reveal a card from the conflict deck. Now, this is going to show kind of rewards for if you win the conflict. These are going to be various items and resources, or they may even be victory points. Each player is going to draw 5 cards from their deck. This is going to be their hand for the turn. Now, on your turn, you take an agent action. Now, you have 2 agents to begin with. I believe you can recruit a third, but you move them to the various spaces on the board. Now, some of these spaces will require you to pay a certain cost, and you're going to have spice, you're going to have water, you're going to have different things, different tokens you can use to pay those costs, but then you also may gain rewards as well. Now, your cards have specific agent icons, and these agent icons say essentially you can play that card to send your agent to one of those places, like the Spacing Guild, or the Landsraad, or to the Fremen, and then that's going to say you can place there, but you need to be able to have one of those agent cards to allow you to place in one of those areas. And of course, you can't send an agent to a space where there already is an agent. Now, there's various things you can do here. Like I say, you can gain resources, you can gain favor and influence with the various guilds. So after you move around, you each take an agent action, and then when it comes to you, if you've got all your agents done, you can take a reveal action. You reveal your remaining cards, and depending on the icons on those cards, you can go ahead and resolve that. You may get more military strength, you may get persuasion, which is the currency you use to buy new cards. But you do add up strength from those cards as well, and you add that to your strength track so that people know if you're in the conflict just how strong you're going to be. Just like a regular deck builder, when you buy more cards, you can go ahead and you put those cards in your discard pile so you don't get to use them right away, but they will come up later in subsequent turns. Now, one of the things that you can gain during the action phase are intrigue cards. And intrigue cards can help you in different ways. They let you play nasty tricks. They may let you gain more points. But there's also strength. So what you do is, this is going to be important because the final thing you're going to do in a round is the conflict phase, the battle. So people can see what each other's strength are, but they don't know if they're holding any other cards that may influence that. You go ahead, you reveal your intrigue cards, you see who has the most strength, and that person will get the biggest reward from the conflict card, and then there will be kind of second, third place as well for people to gain those those rewards from the conflict as well. Next, there will be certain spaces on the board that do just naturally acquire spice. Every round you'll place extra spice tokens there that will incentivize people going there and taking advantage of those spaces in subsequent turns. Now, in Phase 5, if anybody has reached 10 points or if the conflict deck is empty, that triggers the end game. Otherwise, you're going to go ahead and prepare for the next round. You're going to return the Mentat icon. That's an extra temporary worker you can get. You got to make sure he goes back to his place. You then go ahead and recall all your other agents from the board, and then you pass the first player token to the next player. Now, you can also play this game in a solo mode. And in the solo mode or a two-player game, you're actually going to use rivals. Now, how that works is you have a deck of cards called the House Hagel deck. And there's also an app you can download which does the same job as this deck. But essentially what you do is you select two rival cards. These are different factions that you've got, and they act like House Hagel. So for the solo game, you've got these two different rivals, and what happens here is on their turn, you essentially look at the card in the Hagel deck, and it tells you where you place that character. Now, they don't have to pay the costs of a specific space, but they do get the rewards. Now, after they accrue so many rewards, so much spice, so much solarium, so many intrigue cards, etc., using a chart on the on one of the player aids, it actually tells you how many they have to trade of those resources in for victory points, and that is how they score victory points. You also draw a card for the rivals during combat. In a two-player game, you have one rival. Now, that rival doesn't really score victory points, and it doesn't really collect resources. Its only point of being there really is to act as a spoiler to deny certain spaces to the two players. So if you have triggered the end game, you, like I say, maybe one person's got a 10 points or the conflict cards are done, you go ahead and you see anybody may have intrigue cards that reward them additional points. You play all your intrigue cards. Whoever has the most points wins Dune Imperium. So that is just a bare bones overview of what's going on there. There's different things. Like I say, you can place guys in the Lawns Rod, which give you a permanent 2 persuasion. You can, like I say, influence the Guild or the Emperor or the Bene Gesserit, and that's one of the ways you're going to get points. And you're kind of competing there. You can move up and down, and that means that you can lose points as well. But you can form these alliances if you're the first one, if you get the highest point value. So there's a lot of interesting things that happen there. There's a lot of really varied and different things you can do in the different spaces. It's a typical worker placement game, but it's fun in how you use that. And I say it's a typical worker placement game. It's not typical. You've got the deck building aspect to it. And the deck building, too, is a lot of fun because, again, you're trying to find cards that are going to allow you to go to the spaces you want to go, but you also want to get cards that maybe give you some extra strength and more persuasion and different stuff. So the cards work in fun ways here, and it just works very well with the worker placement aspect of the game. They're both just kind of really synergistic here, and I've never seen a game combine these two elements together like this before. And the fact that it does it so well is interesting. Now, first of all, I love the theme. I've read all the Dune books. I saw the '84 movie and the miniseries, and I'm really looking forward to the new film, which was supposed to come out last year. Thank you very much, COVID. But I'm super excited about that. And this game is obviously a tie-in with the new film. It's got some of the imagery and the photographs. In fact, you'll notice, too, that one of the characters on the cards is our very own Bus Riley. But I really like the mechanics in this game, too. They work with the theme very well. So it's one of those combinations of the theme and the game, the theme and the mechanics of the game working together very, very well. This is a fun game. The intrigue, the backstabbings here, and the way the conflict works is very good, very well done as well. I was scared this game would be a little too Euro-y for me. It's not. It doesn't feel overly Euro-y. Certainly, it's got aspects of that, but it's not like a heavy Euro game, which I don't care for. So I really like this. Now, some people might invite comparisons between this and the other Dune game. They're very different games. They are very different games. That other game is a pretty typical dudes on the map game, and this is not that. It's worker placement and deck building. Very well done. I really, really like this. This is my number 2 game of 2020. If you saw my top 10 games of 2020, this came in number 2. Really enjoyed it quite a bit. The solo mode is just a tremendous amount of fun. I liked it a lot more than I thought I was, frankly. It's very intuitive, very easy to play, and very easy to learn. And I had a ball with it. The 2-player game I liked, but I didn't like it as much as the solo or the higher player count games. 2 players, where the rival just acts as a spoiler, it was okay, and I'd play it, but I didn't like the game mode as much. It's just the 2-player count. So for me, the solo player or the higher player counts is kind of my preferred way to play the game. I'm kind of excited to see what they do, if they have any expansions for it, because I'm sure they could add expansions. I'm sure they could find ways to give more cards and maybe another player board with more spaces and stuff you can do. I'd be very tempted to see what that's doing. I'm waiting for the minis and stuff. I went all in for this to get the minis and stuff and see how all they look. So I'm really excited. I think this game has just some fun. It's a fantastic game, and I think it's got fantastic potential for the future. And I'd hope to see, in addition to expansions, more games generally do things like this. It's a very innovative game in the way it combines these mechanics, and it's a very fun game overall. Hands down, I got to tell you, I was reluctant to say how much I like this game because everybody else was saying how much they like this game. They were going on and on about how much they love this game. And I didn't want to be the voice in the chorus. I kind of wanted to be the guy that says, yeah, it's not that great. But I can't. It's good, and people are praising it for a reason. It's just a super fun game. If you get a chance, check it out. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say absolutely you're going to want to buy this one. Thank you once again for joining us today on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. Please, ladies and gentlemen, we would ask you also, if you like this review, please give us a thumb on Board Game Geek. We'd appreciate that very much. And if you like World War II and military history, I'd invite you to check out my other YouTube channel, Cody Carlson, PhD. Please like and subscribe to that as well. I'd appreciate it. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I just would like to say to you that I am really looking forward to the new Dune movie. I'm really excited for it. I think my favorite scene in the book and the previous movies was that scene where Paul Atreides walks out alone into the desert and he says, I hate sand. It's rough and coarse and irritating and it gets everywhere. Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time and I've been dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. I love pizza.